Rebellious Studio presents the Mind Body Podcast with your host, Maria Angelova. Hello, Rebels, and welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria. Here it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And today, my guest is Grace Leer. I am thrilled to have you here, Grace. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I met Grace through an interview that she did for Authority Magazine. And Grace, I love your story. I love how you went after your dream and followed your passion. And I love where it has taken you.
Thank you so much.
I really would love for you to share your story, how, what happened, how you went after your dream, the courage, the comfort zone, all of those good things. But before that, let's start by you sharing 3 words that describe you and give us a little bit of background behind each word.
3 words that describe me? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, this is so on the spot. Okay. 3 words that describe me. I would think 1 is passionate. Mm-hmm. I'm very passionate in all aspects of my life. So if I talk about my passion, it's in anything. It could, even as a kid, it was playing soccer, or even with my relationships. I'm very passionate about the people in my life. I was passionate about sports. And then now it's even just in my healthy living lifestyle. I'm passionate about cooking, all these different things. So passionate for sure. A second word that would describe me is determined, which kind of would go along with work ethic. When I have my goal set on something, I am so determined to complete that goal and find success in it. And I think the third thing I would say describes me is fearless. I think fearless would be a good one. And that goes back to part of my story, and I haven't always been fearless, but I think, and it comes in waves, but I think I've learned to be fearless because moving to Nashville and not knowing what was waiting for me and kind of dropping everything and then auditioning for American Idol and just doing things that were so scary and did, fill me with fear. Those ended up being the best things in my life, and they changed my life, and they taught me things, and even doing things and failing at them. And being fearless about it, I think teaches people a lot. So.
And speaking of fearless, let's start with there. You had a dream, you knew you had a talent, right? A skill. And tell us about that. What made you say, I will go after that? Because exactly to the point that you just thought, you had no idea once you go after your desires and dream, what's there? Is it going to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have been singing since I was a little girl. I remember getting on stage when I was 6 years old, and it was at my elementary school talent show. And I sang a Selena song called Dreaming of You. And I still remember that feeling, even as a little girl. I still remember the feeling of being on stage, because it's the same feeling I get today. It's the same. It's these butterflies, it's passion, it's nerves, it's excitement, it's love, and then as I kept singing as a little girl, I remember I then fast forward to 3rd grade, I sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So I was obsessed with Wizard of Oz. And it was at that moment that my parents really saw that talent in me. It wasn't just, oh, she really loves to sing. It's, oh, she's pretty good at this. And I think this is something that we could get her practicing and get better at. And so I actually started voice lessons when I was about 9 years old. And I just loved to sing. I loved to be on stage. I loved connecting with an audience. I loved taking a song, learning what the story was, learning about the lyrics and the feeling behind the song and how I'm supposed to emote that and get people to connect with me on a deeper level. With just standing up there and singing, it's a very interesting gift. And I'm very lucky to have been given that. And I think even at that young age, I knew it was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I would watch shows like American Idol and I would think, oh I can do that. Or I would, go to concerts and watch these shows and be like, I can do that, and I feel like that dream started very young for me, and it's still going on. I'm still pursuing it, and I don't think I'll ever stop pursuing it.
which is where growth is, right? Once you start
Yeah.
growing, there's really no stopping.
Yeah.
About getting on American Idol, I mean, you thought I'll get on American Idol. How was that as an experience? Like,
Oh my gosh. Well, so before American Idol, I actually did American Idol Juniors, and it was, gosh, what was it? 2003, I think. I was 10, and that was my first ever singing competition show. And that even was a great experience for me. I made top 20. I was living in LA. My dad and I were in a hotel living in LA for like a month. And, you learn a lot being in the spotlight like that at a young age. I remember going back to my hometown and everybody had seen me on TV, and it was like, oh, are you Grace Leer? And you're like, what? Why do people, this is so weird. It was so weird to me. And I was also playing competitive soccer. So I actually had to miss out on a bunch of soccer games to go to American Juniors. And I remember being so sad as a little kid, like, oh, I'm gonna miss my state cup championship game. And so that's where the life balance started. I had to start learning how to manage everything in my life. But then American Idol happened after I had moved to Nashville. So 16 years later, when I was 28, I auditioned for American Juniors. And I actually had a great experience. I had been living in Nashville. I was working a 9-to-5 sales job, sitting in a cubicle making 100 calls a day. Really not loving that job, but knowing I had to pay my bills, and knowing I just needed to be in Nashville in order to grow my career and challenge myself. And I was singing on nights and weekends with my band. And the auditions came around for American Idol, and I was like, I don't know, do I really want to do this? Whatever, we'll see what happens. And it completely changed my life. After the show, I made top 10, and I then quit my job. It was still COVID at this time, so it was kind of weird when I came off the show, because I came back to Nashville where I was already living, and just started writing. And, then all these things are thrown at you, like record labels and management and publishing, and you're very caught off. I had to then learn so much about the industry itself, which can be very overwhelming. But I mean, American Idol was one of those things that it was so scary. And I remember going to that first audition in front of Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan. And you prepare your songs, and you know what you're going into. And thankfully I had one of my best friends, Kyle, who was in my band with me. And I asked him to play guitar for me at the audition, because I knew I would be too nervous to play guitar by myself in the audition. He was like, yeah. So we drove to Milwaukee together, and I at one point wanted him to turn the car around. I was like, I don't want to do this. What if I get a no? What if they don't like me? What if I mess up? I don't want to do this. Like, let's just go back to Nashville and keep doing music there, and it'll be fine. I don't have to be on a TV show. This is so stupid. You're just kind of like talking yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the fear. So that was the fear challenging me. And then I think I called my brother, or texted my brother or something. And he was just like, Grace, like, you can do this. Like, and Kyle was like, I'm not going to turn the car on. Like, you're too talented. I believe in you. You can do this. So I did it. And if you've watched that audition, it was the first one. I'm bawling my eyes out. Like, I am such a mess, because it meant so much to me. And it like still makes me emotional thinking about it, because I remember standing on that American Idol logo here, singing my first song, being so nervous. And they say back to me things like, oh, you have this certain twang in your voice. They just gave me such beautiful feedback, and they really got what I was doing as a musician, as an artist, and they got who I was as a singer. And it was so cool to be understood in that moment, after kind of banging your head against the wall in a town like Nashville that's so competitive, so saturated, full of talented, wonderful female artists. And to just feel like, oh, someone finally saw me, and like, this dream that I've had is not stupid. It was like the first time in a very long time that it was validated that this dream that's been, just burning in me since 6 years old, it felt like it was happening in that moment. And it was so crazy. It was such an out of my body experience. And I was just so emotional and overcome with just gratitude and just like, yeah, let's do this. Like, I'm so ready to do this. And from there, it just felt like one of those years that everything, I don't know if you've read the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey, but it's his memoir. And he talks a lot about, he uses this phrase, this metaphor about in life, you get, green lights, yellow lights, red lights. And that year for me was so many green lights. And when you get those green lights, it's like, just say yes, just keep going, just move forward. And then when the live shows happened and the lockdown happened, that was a yellow light. That was like, okay, what do we do here? And then we had to film the show from our backyards, and that was a whole other thing. But I just think it was one of those years where I was so sure of myself. I knew who I was, and everything had happened for a reason, because I was 28. And I mean, there's people here that take off at 20, 18. Like, I felt like I was behind. But little did I know, everything that had happened and all the no's that I got were just getting me ready for that moment. We're just preparing me. And they were saying, you're not ready. It's not time. It's not time. It's not time. And then finally it was time. And I just felt very comfortable in my skin. I felt very confident. And I think that's why I was successful on the show. And yeah, it changed my life. I'm forever grateful for it.
It's, as you were talking, I actually got emotional just listening because I can relate to, I made a big change. I did something uncomfortable, quit a successful corporate career to do something that I was told I'm too old in an, industry that's oversaturated, like you can never make it, you're not going to make enough money and so forth. And it was scary. And I remember handing in my resignation, absolutely horrified of like, am I making the biggest mistake of my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, just go with it. Like, it feels right. I don't know. It feels extremely scary.
Mm-hmm.
Just go for it. And I'm so glad to hear that you had people who are like, you're not getting out of this. You're going, right? And sometimes I tell my clients, sometimes it takes one person who believes in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You have this dream, and then you have all of these reasons to talk yourself outside of your dream because it's scary and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's easy to just stay where you're at. It's easy to be in the comfortable. And it's those things that do scare you and those things that do make you uncomfortable, that's a good thing. If it scares you, that's a good thing. If it's like, I don't know if I can do this, because even if you fail, even if I had gone through that audition and it was a no, just to be able to say like, whoa, I sang in front of those people and I did it. And that was really hard and scary, but I'm really proud of myself. There's always going to be something, a lesson or some sort of thing, even if you fail. Something a coach told me when I was younger was failure is fertilizer. And I always stuck with me, because it's like, well, yeah, because if you fail, it just fertilizes and fuels more inside you what you need how to grow. It's just, that's how you get there. We can't always be successful, or you're not going to be grateful for those moments where you do succeed.
And I tell people there's no failure, it's just,
No.
It's for the universe or God or whatever spirit is asking you for redirection. So, okay, you got this. What did that experience teach you? You're exactly right. So what do I need to do next? And I do think the things that, I started my business as a fitness business, and it has gotten to where it is because things weren't working out in my view, right? And I was like, oh, why is this not working out? And life just kind of, instead of going from here to here, kind of took me like this. And I'm like, wow, look, I had no idea. That's not where I started, but I kind of surrendered to the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And I'm also glad you talked about opportunities that sometimes you're like, I don't know if I can do that. I've never done that before. But you're like, you know what? Just say yes. And that's what I tell clients, like, just say yes. They're like, but I'm not ready. I'm like, you'll never be ready if you don't jump. Just jump.
Yeah. Yep. Just jump. I love that.
I love your story. So tell people, like, this is so inspirational, but like, tell people, what does it feel like to live in your dream? Because I think that's something also that's, like, I'll tell you from my experience, it feels surreal some days. I'm like, wow. I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I did this. Like, what is your experience in living the life that you want to live, the life that you had a vision for?
I mean, it's still scary, there's still a lot that's unknown, but I have to remind myself that I created this life by manifesting, by speaking it into existence, by taking those opportunities and being fearless. And so I know that I can continue it and create something greater. But for me, I remember what I like to remember on those days where maybe, I don't feel like I'm booking enough shows, or maybe my song's not doing as well as I wanted it to, or have, it just feels maybe slow. And like, as an entrepreneur, you have those, those days, especially in the creative world, like you just have kind of, it goes up and down. And, like this time last year with my record coming out, it was very different. I was busy and crazy and all that stuff. And now it's kind of a different year of writing for the next project, honing in on these new songs that I have coming, and kind of almost like getting things set up rather than go when you have music coming out. And so I'm learning that part of the career and how it kind of has ups and downs, especially as a new artist. But something I always try to remember is there were days when I was driving, because I would call my dad every morning on my way to work. And even at like 6 a.m. because he's always up really early. And there were so many days where I'd be driving to the office and just would cry and just be like, I don't want to do this. I didn't move to Nashville to do this. And he would just, he would say, it's not forever. It's not forever, like it's going to be okay. And then I remember, so when I have those days where I maybe am doubting myself, I think, wait, I got to get up this morning, go write a song. Then I got to record the demo. Now I have to, now I'm planning these outfits for these shows coming up. It's like, wait, this is the life I've wanted. Or maybe I'm on a plane at 6 a.m. and I'm exhausted, but I'm going to open for an artist that I really love. And it's those moments where they're just like, this is my job. Like, this is now my job. My job now isn't going to
what I get to do for a living.
I get to do what I love for a living. And yeah, it can go up and down financially and up and down, of course, everything is, it's not perfect, but it is. I think my mom always said, is if you do what you love, the money will follow. And if you just follow what you love, and if every day I'm doing what I love and what makes me happy, I think that's the dream for anybody. So, and everybody's dream is different.
I think it's very well said and very powerful, because as an entrepreneur, I go through the same things. And sometimes I'm like, I used to freak out, like a client leaves and I'm like, oh, leaves the gap. But I've learned to trust that.
Just trust
those areas, I say kind of life goes like this: step up and then cruise, step up and cruise.
Yeah.
It's where we cruise where the growth happens, right? Because that's where it's uncomfortable. When you feel the growth, you're like, yeah, I got this. And when you're here, you're like, oh, I think I have this. Like, and that's what I would love to ask you, like, talk about the importance of mindset work in terms of, especially where you are, right? You're very visible on stage and in front of the world. What's the mindset work that you do?
So mindset in terms of performing, or just
like keeping yourself sound and grounded. You mentioned gratitude, you mentioned like reminding yourself that, oh my gosh, I am living my dream every day. That reminder that keeps you grounded. Like maybe we talked before in our prior interview, like self-care, like what are the things that keep you grounded and stable and your cup full so that you can, serve the world with your talent?
Yeah. Well, I think definitely I practice gratitude. I manifest like crazy. I journal a lot. I mean, being a songwriter, every time you get in the room and get to write, it's therapy. You get to talk about your feelings and what's going on. But in these days where it's maybe not going as fast forward as I want to, I try to just say, it won't always be like this. Cause like you just said, it goes up and cruise and up and cruise. So I try to I think, and I'm reading a book by Jay Shetty about love, and part of it, and I am in a relationship. So it talks about relationships, but it's mostly about loving yourself and finding solitude in finding that you can be alone, and being alone is really great for you. So I do try to find those moments, you know, waking up extra early, to just have coffee by myself for an hour and not say a word to anybody and just be in my own space, my own thoughts. And I do a lot of yoga and I meditate, yeah, obviously in yoga. I don't just meditate. I'm not very good at that, but I would like to get good at meditation. Maybe when life gets crazier, I'll start meditating more. But
drinking your cup of coffee, if you're present in that moment,
yeah,
that's meditation.
yeah,
right?
and breathing. But I would say before a show, because of my athletic background, I'm very like, I like to have a routine. And I find that before a show, some people are like wanting to be really social, or they have a couple drinks, and they kind of get, you know, that gets them in the zone. I'm very chill before I perform. I'm like, it's like pregame, you know, you get everybody gets pumped up in their own way. I like to listen to music while I do my hair and makeup in the green room and have some tea. And I get really nervous. Like my adrenaline is kind of crazy before I get on stage. And I used to deal with nerves as a kid, and it was really bad. And I've learned to control it now with breathing and gratitude and affirmations, and just saying like, you know, you're okay. And this is what you're doing, what you love, and have fun. And it's a lot like before a soccer game, I would get nervous and have to kind of calm myself down and, you know, just do the things for me. But I think I really do love being by myself. And I'm in a really happy relationship, but we were just talking about that this morning, that we're really good at being like our own person. And I think that's really healthy. So anyway.
And you know, I have learned I am a very much of an extrovert, and with age, with what I do, I have really learned that I need some alone downtime to
recharge.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's my movement, you know, like I am kind of like you. I like to do my movement is my meditation. I go through my practice, and that's my time to myself to just tune out everything else and just focus on myself, body and mind.
Yeah.
So
I think something else is like finding, for me, being a creative, being creative in other ways. So with cooking, it was so funny. The other day I came home and I was in such a creative mood to cook, and I wanted to try these different recipes. And it was so, my roommate was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know, I just have all these ideas in my head and I really want to try them out. And I was like, I made like a healthy version of fried chicken, and then I made this like healthy version of this really yummy brownie dessert, and I had to make it 3 times because I was like, well, you know, I want to try it this way, and then I want to try it this way. And it's just like the kitchen had blown up. But sometimes I just get these urges to just create, and it might be in music, whether it's grabbing my guitar or in the kitchen, or sometimes I use my energy and just go for a run. But it's just really fun. I think that's just part of who I am.
I think that's so important that you talk about that, because I tell people that you have to find what works for you, right? And maybe your thing is, I love to journal. Some people are like, there's no way I'm ever going to sit down and right? For some people might be dancing or painting or whatever your thing is, or knitting, or whatever your thing is, craft. It doesn't have to be what everybody else does. It has to be whatever feels good to you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Grace, let's end up with what's your definition of rebellious and rebel? What's a rebel in your world, your dictionary?
What's a rebel?
Rebel, rebellious person.
Oh, I think someone who just goes against the grain. I think someone who paves their own way, someone who is fearless, someone who doesn't care what people think. That kind of comes to mind.
I like that.
I love it.
Grace, how can people follow you? Where can people find you and follow your journey, your music?
Oh, everywhere. It's all Grace Leer music. So social media is all Grace Leer music, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. And graceleer.com is my website, and my cookbook is free on there. It's free digital download of my cookbook, which is really fun. So yeah, that's me.
Grace, I'm so grateful for your time here. Thank you for the inspiration and vulnerability and talking to our listeners. And you guys have a rebellious day. Stay rebellious, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.